I didn't realize I was in a rut at first. Nothing felt wrong exactly. My days were fine, comfortable, and predictable. But that was the problem. Every day started to feel a little too similar to the one before it. I'd wake up, I'd go through my routine, check off what needed to be done, and before I knew it, the day was over. And then the next day would look almost exactly the same. Hi, I'm Michelle, and on my channel we talk about creating a peaceful, confident life after 50, especially if you're living alone, traveling solo, or navigating retirement. I started realizing my world had gotten too predictable. My brain knew exactly what was coming next. And when your brain knows exactly what's coming, life starts to feel a little smaller. So I decided to take a 1-month trip to New York City. Now I've been to New York before, but this was different. I wasn't going for a long weekend or trying to pack everything in. I was going to live there slowly for a month. The moment you step into a completely different environment, something shifts. At home, everything had become automatic. I didn't have to think much about my day because I already knew how it would go. But in New York, nothing was automatic. I had to figure things out again. How am I getting there? Do I take the subway, grab a taxi, or just walk? When should I go grocery shopping? And how much can I realistically carry up flights of stairs? And instead of feeling overwhelmed, I felt awake. I was paying attention again. I was engaged. Even the smallest decisions required just enough thought to pull me out of that autopilot mode I had been living in. In retirement, we think the goal is to rest, and it is in many ways. But too much sameness can drain you. Your brain actually craves novelty. It wants something new to process, something different to respond to. And that's exactly what solo travel is giving me. Because when you're by yourself, every decision is yours. There's no coordinating, no compromising, no explaining your choices. You start to think, I can do whatever I want today. If I want to spend half the day walking through Central Park, I can. If I want to sit in a coffee shop and just watch the city move around me, I can. If I change my mind halfway through the day, there's no one I need to check in with. This trip is giving me space to reconnect with myself in a way I didn't even realize I needed. Not as a mom, not as the default helper, but just as me. What do I enjoy? What pace feels good for me? What actually makes me feel energized? And something else I noticed, when you're alone, you're more approachable. People talk to you, you talk back. You find yourself having little conversations that brighten your day. Nothing major, just small interactions. Talking to someone at a coffee shop, chatting with another dog owner, asking a question and ending up in a conversation. Those little moments add up. They lifted my mood in a way that feels natural and easy. It reminds me that connection doesn't always have to be planned. Sometimes it just happens when you're being present enough to notice it. But I think the biggest reason this experience feels so impactful isn't because I'm traveling, it's how I'm traveling. I'm not trying to check off a list of must-see places. I'm staying in one place and letting myself settle into it. Because instead of feeling like a visitor, I feel like I live here. I'm finding my routines in a new environment. I'm figuring out where to shop, where to walk, where I like to spend time. And because I'm not constantly rushing from one place to another, my mind has space. Space to think, to notice, to be creative again. It feels like all the mental noise has quieted down. And in that quiet, I can actually hear myself again. Boredom in retirement isn't always about not having enough to do. Sometimes it's about not feeling mentally alive. What surprised me too was that this kind of travel can be more practical than you might think. When you stay in one place longer, you're not constantly spending on transportation or eating out for every meal. You settle into a rhythm, you grocery shop. You live more like you would at home, just in a different setting. Now, if you're thinking, this sounds wonderful, but I could never do something like that, it doesn't have to start with a month in New York City. It could start small, a solo day trip somewhere nearby, going to a museum on your own and taking your time, or sitting in a coffee shop without feeling like you need to rush out. What you're really doing is getting comfortable being with yourself again, making your own decisions and following your own pace. Solo, slow travel is not about proving something to other people. It's not about being the kind of woman who travels alone. It's about reminding your brain that life still has novelty, that you still have options, and that you can still reinvent your days, that you're not done growing. So if you've been feeling that quiet retirement rut, the days blending together, the same routine, the same loop, you might not need a big life overhaul. You might just need a reset, a change of environment, a new rhythm, a little bit of novelty, a little bit of connection. Because this isn't just about travel, it's about breaking out of that quiet routine that slowly shrinks your world. Travel is a way to expand it again. And maybe that's the takeaway. If you're feeling a little stuck, a little restless, or even just a little too comfortable, it might just mean it's time to change your environment, even in a small way. Thank you so much for watching.